A very good morning to all my dear friends. I am Prashant Mahoney and I warmly welcome all of you to Study IQ. You will never be who you want to be until you are happy with who you are. That means accepting yourself, right? Accepting oneself. Dear friends, we should accept ourselves in whichever form, in whichever state we are, because this is a very basic thing. If we don't like ourselves, then how we are going to develop that seed of confidence, how we are going to convert it into a big tree. With this, dear friends, Study IQ provides you pen and tablet courses for various different exams. Want to know more about it? Check out studyiq.com. With this, dear friends, the first editorial that we have is pertaining to judiciary. Now, two crimes that took place back in 2016. At present, last week, two courts, one in Kerala and one in Tamil Nadu. Basically, these two courts, lower courts, have awarded death sentences for the principal perpetrators of these two crimes. One crime was associated with this caste pride. We know that this sort of things are still prevalent in our society, and basically a girl married a boy from different caste, and that boy was killed by the family members of this girl. The second one is pertaining to a sexual violence. Now, we do find this sort of things, and many a times we read this sort of things, we hear about this discussions taking place at various different places, that this laws, the changes in law. We know after Nirbhaya case, we got some new laws pertaining to this sexual crime and things like that, and many a times we hear that these things are not working. But I would rather say that of course at present it is taking a bit of long time. Here we have two examples, right? These two examples. 2016, right? This things took place back in, this crime took place in 2016, and here we are. The result is out, right? So this is a rare case, you can say. Agree with you. On the other side, we know that it takes ages for us to, when I say for us, I mean to say for the judiciary to come to a logical conclusion. But imagine that if we would not be having any laws at all, right? If you go through various different studies, then you will come to know that today we have a less number of murders taking place in terms of population rise and things like that, because nowadays we have many different gadgets and technology, and the way this murder detection and things like that, right, have improved as well. On the other side, just if you remove these laws that are punishing you for murder, then it would be very difficult, right, for us to live in a society. Those people whom we feel that they are very peaceful will be in their worst behavior. So of course the laws are deterrent. At the same time, we have to work on the other side, that is empowering women, and we have to get rid of all these ill wills of many different types of discrimination that are going on in our society. Anyways, so let's move ahead a little bit in this editorial. So this is a significant message by courts. No doubt the judiciary has, the lower judiciary has responded very quickly. It has gone through all the cases and things like that, and no doubt it deserves praises from every one of us, because coming to a conclusion in 2 years, or coming out with a verdict in 2 years time, is something that we don't see quite often in our country. The other thing is that here it is mentioned that state governments as well played a very important role, and we have talked about this thing, and I would like to talk about this thing again one more time here, and that is that, see, one of the most important thing is that we have to, the whole operation, right, the whole operation should be, when I say operation, I mean to say that from the scene of crime, or from point A to point Z, everything that is falling in this line, right, should be, you can say, not standardized, but should be made a bit more efficient, right? So things should be carried out in the best possible ways, and state governments play a very important role, particularly when we talk about crimes, because you know that the police, they are part of state government, and we know how things work in our country. You have interference from police, from politicians in the working of police, and then you have also good people working as in the police department, no doubt, but still we don't have this division of people who are supposed to work in law and order and investigation, because these two things require very different types of skills, right? And if someone has this investigative bent of mind, and if he or she is trained in this particular investigation field, then of course repetitive work as well as exposure to different scenario will make them expert, and the evidence that they will collect, chances are that it will produce end result the result. It will have, of course, a sort of impact on the final verdict. And then comes the other chain that is part of this criminal justice system is the lawyers, right? We have to change some laws when it comes to lawyers. First of all, fees are quite expensive. The other thing is that repetitive adjournments. This is one of the biggest hurdle that we are facing. Even, do you know that even say, for example, if the lawyer is busy with some sort of social function like marriage, or if he or she has to visit a reception or something, then as well he or she can say that they have to go, and you have to skip that date. So this sort of things have to change, and of course we need more judges and things like that. So state governments as well as judiciary together, if they work together, then we can see a real change, and this will again send a clear message to all those would-be or all those criminals, right? Now one more thing that this article editorial is highlighting is it is questioning that that courts are not coming under the pressure of the society, because if this is something that is happening, then this is a matter of worry as well, because it is very important for the courts to be impartial, and it is difficult, challenging, but the judges have to ensure that they are not affected by the popular demand. They have to stick to the technicality of the laws and things like that. With this, dear friends, one of the most important article that we have today is pertaining to cyberspace, right? Now India is one of the key players when we talk about digital world, and here you can see the figure as well, like 50% share of the world's outsourcing market belongs to our country India. Apart from that, you know, nowadays digital India and everything that we have around us, right? Compare our country with if you go back and see, say for example 5 years ago, the way things have improved, or the digital products that we see around us, everything is more and more, it is getting digital, isn't it? We have this Aadhaar system, then My Government and Government e-market and DigiLocker, BharatNet, Startup India and Skill India and Smart Cities, and there are many things, right? In fact, the things that we are discussing at present is part of a digital world as well, isn't it? This electronic lectures or YouTube and things like that. Now, the other thing, you know, a couple of days ago there was a meeting, and in that meeting as well, Ravi Shankar Prasad said that in near future, right, we are going to be one of the biggest player in the world in terms of production of electronic goods, particularly associated with IT and IT enabled services. In this one, India is a major player, but we are going to climb up the ladder. And here, information and communications technology sector is estimated to reach $225 billion landmark by 2020. That means more jobs will be created, and more things will get digitized. Now, of course, when we talk about digital world, then we also have to take into consideration the cyber attacks or cyber security scenario, because as per this internal security threat report of 2017, which is produced by Symantec, remember the name here, Symantec, right? It produces this internal security threat report of 2017. It says that India is 5th most vulnerable country in the world in terms of cyber security breaches. which is a very it again places us on the top table, but in a very negative, or you can say in a bad side. Of course, it's not something that is our fault, but it also means that we have to do something about it, isn't it? We have this Computer Emergency Response Team. It is known as CERT. We have talked about it a couple of days ago as well. And as per this CERT, let me give you a small background of CERT, what it does. As the name itself suggests, Emergency Response Team. So remember, a couple of months ago, we were hit by this WannaCry type of ransomware. And at that point of time as well, it was in new CERT. It is the top, you can say, a team or agency that looks after all this sort of attacks, cyber security breaches or attacks in our country, right? So that's what CERT is all about. Now, till 2017, June 2017, right? We got what 27,000, roughly speaking, 28,000 threats, and this. If you compare this figure with the 2014 figures, then we find that there is a rise of 23%, which is a very sad thing to know. But the good news that we have is that at least the government of India is aware about this thing, and this is one of the main reasons why you hear Prime Minister Narendra Modi talking about cyber warriors. You hear about our IT minister and telecommunication minister. They are also talking about this the way to develop a culture or a system in which things are protected from this sort of cyber attacks. So government of India is aware about this thing. It in fact recognizes this thing as well. And here you can see our rank because of this thing, because of our recognition or the government's recognition to this issue in Global Cyber Security Index, which is released by International Telecommunication Union. We are at rank 23 out of 165 countries, which is not bad, I must say, right? But it should be a bit higher, because here you can see we are the 5th most vulnerable country, as well as here we are one of the key players in digital world as well, and you know that 50% of the world's outsourcing market is with India, so we should be somewhere in top 5 or top 10. Anyways, we are doing something, we are on it, and hopefully in near future we will be there as well. Now, it is not about what your rank is, it is how protective environment you can create. Now, you might have heard about, just now I talked about you this WannaCry ransomware. Now let me provide you a small basic detail. It is mentioned in this article, I must say, the definition or the basic understanding of what ransomware is all about. The name itself indicates that ransom means you have to pay, right? If I take away something precious from you, then I would demand money for that particular thing to return it to you, right? So that's what ransomware is all about. You hit someone's computer, you either block that person's or that organization's data, and then you ask for some money, you demand for some money. And this is one of the most common way of cyber attack. And the sad thing is again that this thing is going up, because this is one of the most successful way of extorting money from people. And every success of this ransomware attack is inspiring other new attacks as well, right? So more and more attacks are going up and up. And here you can see in May 2017 there is an app. I'm sure you might have heard about Zomato, right? I have seen its advertisement. I don't know whether in television or on YouTube, I'm not sure, but it's a food application. Anyways, it's not important what they do. The main thing is that their 17 million users' personal data, right, was kept on sale by these attackers. And Uber faced the same thing. And later on, this Zomato as well as Uber paid huge amount of money to this attackers, cyber attackers. And that's how they are making money, and it is inspiring other people as well to do the same thing. Now, in the 15th Asian Pacific Computer Emergency Response Teams Conference, Ravi Shankar Prasad highlighted the robust security the need for robust security policies and frameworks. One thing that I would like to highlight here is that we have to, when I say we, I mean to say the government of India, the state governments, as well as private players who are working in this field. Apart from that, you have to have your regional groupings as well as international grouping. Needless to say, you have to take on board expert people, you have to take on board computer experts. I'm talking about normal users who are not associated with any organization or anything, but many times you have genius sitting in a corner of a room. So all those young minds, or whoever they are, if they are expert, if they have some sort of expertise in cybersecurity, then they should be taken on board as well. And policies and frameworks, rather than being designed by bureaucrats, right, these people should be taken on board in decision making process. I think this will make it a bit more secure. The other thing is that government is ready to spend or ready to fund cyber security research, and this is the need of the hour. R&D, right? Research and development is something that we require quite badly. When we talk about Indian institutions, we are not in top 100, you know it very well, and any top universities, right? Universities are basically ranked. One of the most important thing for any university is to come out with some sort of new research work, right? And R&D is something that we are lacking here. We don't find that sort of culture of R&D, research and development. So we need that golden triangle as well, the golden triangle about which we were having a word yesterday. And Minister of Communications Manoj Sinha has also talked about this global conference at the global conference on cyberspace 2017. He talked about this United Nations members should sign up a convention, or we should come out with a United Nations law that even during a state of war, no country will attack each other, or there won't be any sort of cyber attack on each other, because in future it is believed that it has been said by many experts that in future if there is going to be any war, the tool that is going to be used is going to be this cyber attacks, right? Because you can imagine nowadays you can procure the best plane, fighter jet, right? Say for example Rafale, but you know that to keep Rafale in sky, you have many computers in the ground, isn't it? And if you can take over these computers, then this plane will simply come down. In the same way, your satellite, your communication system, your everything, right? Your nuclear protection thing, and in future this is a big threat, right? You can shut down TV channels, you can shut down internet of a country and things like that. Even the smart grids can go off, and even your cars as well, because nowadays your car is also attached with this network, isn't it? Internet and things like that. So this is a big thing. This is a big tool that we have at present in our hand, right? We still don't know the damage that this thing that we have just discussed, right? Many of these things could be imaginary at present. It may look imaginary, but in future you never know, it could become a reality as well. With this, dear friends, hidden figures of Indian science. One of the main reasons why we are not able to see ourselves at top of the list when we talk about this, our scientific community, right? Most of the books that we hear about, we find that all the research is done by, predominantly speaking, white people in Europe and USA and Canada and this sort of countries, isn't it? And one of the main reasons, I think, as far as I know, is that they have a culture, right? They have a culture of science. At least they used to have a culture of science, and or you can say inclination of science. And the biggest thing that I personally feel is they have a culture of accepting failure, right? This is one of the main reasons why you have Silicon Valley is dominating many industries, right? because they are accepting. In Silicon Valley they have a culture of accepting failure. When Narendra Modi was when he was there in Silicon Valley, at that point of time, if you remember, he said that it is very strange to know that here even failure is celebrated. If your company fails, then you have to throw a party, and other companies will come to you and they will be keen to know from you that what are the things that you did that led to a failure, and what are the things that you have learned out of this failure. This is very important thing when you think in terms of your personal life or professional life, because if you cannot identify, if you are always trying to duck that failure, that means you are always going to be in that boundary, isn't it? In the same way, we have ignored, or you can say we know very little about great scientists or the greatest that India has produced. And if you have gone through my BrahMos missile special lecture, that is of course available on our YouTube channel. If you want, you can please check that one out. Many few people will be knowing this thing, that rockets were invented in India, right? It was Tipu Sultan who used to his army was possessing this technology of rocketry, and after the defeat of Tipu Sultan, the British took over. They took away some 700 rockets back in England, and we know the name of the scientist of Britain, but we don't know who was the engineer behind, or who was the scientist behind this rocket science in Tipu's army. So from the very early beginning, right, means if you go back a little bit, if you go back in ancient time, then we know the names of all those genius minds. But if we go back a little bit, then we find that we have not given that much importance to our scientists, right? We don't know about them, we don't know how they worked and things like that. Anyways, even today as well, things have not changed that much. And if you go through the work of APJ Abdul Kalam, then as well you will find in Wings of Fire and in other books as well, particularly India 2020, you will find that there are many things that are available in our country, but because of this bureaucracy and government having lack of vision, and scientists, right, are not given a free hand, because of all these things, we are still not able to achieve all these things. And here you have this risk-averse nature, right? There's something similar what we were talking about here about R&D, right? We are lacking that, and even whatever work is going on, we find people are more risk-averse. The scientists are risk-averse. They don't want to cross their boundary. They want to produce those sort of things. Even the achievement would be bit low compared to the things that you can achieve, some groundbreaking work, the name and fame that you will get from producing something groundbreaking. But with groundbreaking things, the issue is that the result is not always right. It's not always, you cannot always say that you will achieve something. You could face 1000 failures, and you may not come to as something groundbreaking in your hand. Or you can say there is nothing called failure in science, but here, to make things a bit easier, I would say that you have in fact failed to produce something. So these are the risks. They want to duck this risk, and you have, as I told you, scientists turned bureaucrats. If you see the life of Vikram Sarabhai, then you will find that he was a man who was knowing how to trust scientists. He was a leader, right, as described by APJ Kalam. And you will find that funding and all the support and everything, right, he would just say go ahead and do it. He was having this exceptional quality of identifying the right person, and because of that thing, we know that what he has achieved personally as well as for our country. So this is the thing. The other thing is that if you want our scientists to produce something groundbreaking, then we have to ensure that they do experimental science, and experimental science requires two things, right? First of all, it requires long-term funding, and then you require the scientists' collaboration. Means every means scientists working with each other, and collaboration is a social process, and for that government can create this sort of environment. One more thing that I think, there are many things I can go on and on regarding this thing, but last thing I would like to, as a food for thought, you know that after your board 10th standard, you are been given three choices, isn't it? Most of the time what I have heard is that science is too hard, and this has been said by those people who have not taken science themselves. So this is the situation. We have to change the way we take science. We have to change that culture right from family level. Then only I think we will see some sort of change at societal level. With this, dear friends, focus on income mobility, the World Inequality Report 2018, which is released by World Inequality Lab. You should keep this sort of names in your mind, right? Many times you find this sort of questions as well. Now what it says is, this report is saying that income inequality in India has increased since economic liberation. Now yes, this is right as well, but it is not always wrong, right? There are some things that are working behind it. Things are changing in our country, and we will see how it works. But before that, I'm sure you might have heard about this argument that many people are saying that rich people should be taxed more, and that extra tax should be used for giving a better life to the poor people. Now, of course, it is a good idea, but in the practical side, what will happen is that if you tax rich people more, then they would be unhappy with investing in the market, right? Say, for example, if you are earning 50,000 per year, right? This is just a hypothetical example, just to make things much more easier. So imagine that if you are earning 50,000 per year, and you have to work 8 hours per day, right? And if you work extra hours, then you get extra pay, right? Overtime pay. So you get a very good overtime pay. But now imagine if your country is as soon as you cross your 50,000 threshold, if you are falling between 50,000 to 1 lakh bracket, then you would be, here you are taxed 5%, but here you are taxed 15%, right? So would you be inclined to work extra after your 8 hours per day? The answer would be clear no, because if you earn 55,000 rupees, then you would be paying what, 15% of tax. So naturally you will think that rather than working as well and not getting anything out of it, it is better to stick below or stick at 50k. It is better to hit that so far. In the same way, investors do feel the same, right? The other thing is that income inequality will always exist. This is something that we have to understand, that we cannot have everyone in a country, right, every single citizen of India having equal income. Not at all. This is not possible. This imbalance, in fact, is a balance. You can understand that we need auto rickshaw drivers as well as surgeons, right? Both of them are important. I'm not saying that rickshaw drivers are not important. Both of them play a very important role. But you know that the job of this surgeon is a bit more complex compared to rickshaw driver, and this is one of the main reason why surgeon is paid a bit more. So this is the thing, and we will always find this sort of income inequality. The person with the best personal capabilities will earn more. So this is something that is decided by the market itself. Now we were talking about this passing money from the rich people to poor people. The thing is, this thing does not work, as you know. And the other thing is that we see at present this increased inequality coming up in this chart, and one of the main reason is that income mobility is something that takes place in our type of economy which is growing up. You find many people are climbing the ladder of they are climbing this economic ladder, and many of them are not able to climb, and because of this thing we see a bit of gap. So there is nothing to worry about. Things are in movement at least, and hopefully this one will go up as well as the things are going in our country. It is clearly we can say that these people who are at present in a bit of disadvantage, in near future hopefully they will to climb up this economic ladder. Now very quickly, let's go through the news item. Now you'd be thinking why we have spent this much time in all these articles. The thing is, this were very important articles. Apart from that, this one and this one is about BJP and Congress and things like that. Now the basic thing is that we know, if you see the front page, if you see the national page of today's Hindu newspaper, then you will find it is about BJP's victory and what are the things because of what Congress lost. So it is more political news. When I say political news, I am not saying that political news should be ignored altogether, but as far as you know the basic things that are working behind it, that's what you require, right? You want to be asked how many seats BJP has won in Gujarat. You won't be asked how many seats Congress has got in Gujarat Assembly or in Haryana and things like that. But you should know how elections do take place, how CM is appointed, what is the role of government and things like that, right? So here is VVPAT. We have talked about VVPAT. I'm sure you know what VVPAT is all about. So VVPAT were deployed and there was a random checking was done, and it is found that everything is fine. But we know that, dear friends, some sort of bogus voting did take place as well. And at present, this system is not, of course it is better than what we used to have, but then as well it is not, you can say, immune to bogus voting. So we are still not reached that place in which we can get rid of this bogus voting. So these things have taken place, right? And it's not something that has taken place now. It happens in every election in our country. We have to get rid of these things. Here you can see a train accident in Washington. Then you have USA in United Nations Security Council pertaining to Jerusalem. Yesterday it was in news, and today you can see that 14 members voted in favor of Egyptian drafted resolution. And this resolution is against this declaration of USA that it is recognizing Jerusalem as Israel's capital. Now here you can see, right, these countries don't even have courage to name USA, right? And USA has used veto power. This is the world we are living in, right? United Nations Security Council is totally a very undemocratic institution in itself. And then as well it is been given power to decide on important things like security. Then you have this Trump to unveil America First plan, and we know this was his political campaign. That's what he stands for. And these are the four main themes: protecting the homeland and the way of life, promoting American prosperity, demonstrating peace through strength, and advancing American influence in an ever competitive world. With this, dear friends, farm factors, things that are going on with farm. We know that MS prices, farmers are not happy about the money that they get out of their hard work, and there are many points that are against them: poor rainfall and erratic distribution of rainfall, hailstorm and unseasonal rain. And then you have this global market products, global market doing good, products coming into our market, and this is creating problem for the farmers as well. And what can be done about it? We need better procurement scheme, bigger focus on irrigation that will provide them sort of immunity from this erratic rainfall, ensuring that farmers purchase things in wholesale price and sell in retail price, rather than the situation that is at present. It is other way around. And that's everything regarding this thing. And Niti Aayog has also said, Vice Chairman of Niti Aayog, right, he has said that National Skill Development Mission, we talked about skill, right, what are the things that we need to add? Education plus skill development program should be integrated with each other and things like that. With this, dear friends, Rafale deal, intergovernmental agreement with France was discussed in the parliament. It was discussed by Nirmala Sitharaman, our defense minister, and she clarified why we need this thing and what are the things, how much money is involved and things like that. And Dassault, it's a company of France. It is going to have a tie-up with Reliance Defense. Keep this thing in mind. You find this sort of questions as MCQ. With this, dear friends, answers are Lok Sabha President and Sivaraman Committee, and the person here is Benjamin Franklin. And before ending today's discussion, I have a question for you. See what I have observed, and this is a sad reality as well, that only 5 or 6 people from you are responding to the questions that are being asked to you, and which is if you see the viewership, then it will be in 0%, right? And this is something that happens with, particularly if you are preparing for civil services examination or other competitive exams. You will find that the results are also in 0%, and I believe that only those 0% will succeed who are always ready to go that or walk that extra mile. Dear friends, these questions, right, you can Google it and answer this sort of questions as well, but for that as well you have to have that state of mind. I won't encourage you to use Google and cheatings to answer these questions, but I would one of the main reason why I am asking you questions is because you can, right, it will push your mind to think about it, and you have to logically think about it, that union budget is always presented first in joint session, union cabinet. Then you have to remember when was the time last time that you saw a joint session, who was addressing that joint session? Union cabinet. Why would union cabinet, right? What do I know about union cabinet? Rajya Sabha is about states, isn't it? Then why would union budget be presented there? How Lok Sabha elections takes place? See, there are so many questions that you can ask yourself, and trust me, this is one of the most scientific way of learning as well. And I am not I'm not disappointed, but I would rather say that wake up, guys, and let's do it. I'm here to hold your hand. I'm ready to walk that 50% track, right? I'm standing here. I want you guys to walk that 50% bit of yours, and we can meet here at this one line, right? So do let me know if you want, if you are ready to walk this 50%, then I'm more than happy to provide all the things that I can. With this, dear friends, I end this discussion, and make sure you check out studyiq.com for our pen drive and tablet courses. Many videos on our YouTube channel. You will be able to download this file from my Facebook page, which is Prashant Imavani, as well as our official Telegram channel. Description, you will find a link in our description. Make sure you share it with other people as well. Enjoy your studies. I will see you all soon. This is Prashant Imavani signing off. Jai Hind.